three bands and 3 records I'm going to talk about. Again, like, it's just not my style or Steve's to... I'm just a very shy person, is the bottom line. But I don't lack confidence. Because I've been put through literal hell for many years. Post-apocalyptic zombie metalcore. I want to talk really quickly about 3 records that I'm addressing. 3 bands, 3 records. Drab, Majesty, Careless, Body of Light. Actually, both of their last records. And the band that shall remain nameless. One of their older records, and then also, I guess, Houses of Heaven, if it's relevant. I took down the videos about my severe health issues just because I shouldn't have to talk about those personal things, but it's because of my state as a realized Vedanta master. And essentially the problem is I have to explain that I have merged with God and experienced nirvana, and I have a very high-ranking spiritual status, and address the fact that it is a post-apocalyptic simulation, zombie metalcore type situation, just with what is happening. But again, as an artist, the reason I'm an artist is I can say this is all meant for entertainment purposes, and you take what resonates for you. But firstly, I'm taking back cosmic ownership of those records. Time to Kill, especially by Body of Light. There's just too many songs on those records that are literally like so much of the lyrics have direct reflection on my life. As I mentioned, Floodland is essentially, in a lot of different ways, the story of my life. One of the things that happened when I merged with God, I was meditating one day, and I actually, whatever, it's all in the lyrics there. Floodland, Flood 1, Flood 2. But the bottom line is, I can't survive. It's not my cross to bear, pun intended. It's not you can't get away with, being so careless and reckless with your lyrics, mining the mind of God. Like, as I said with the KVB, that song, Pray to the Light Machine. The machine is actually a very specific thing that I experienced in my near-death experience. It exists, and it's evil. And so again, I love the KVB. Their first record was in a lot of ways downloaded from source as I was recovering in Europe from my severe near-death experience, severe PTSD. And it didn't really hit me till 10 years later. But all of those songs, especially the song Dreams, I was there in Europe, I had my iPad. Bottom line is, if you, like, for instance, the first track, The Foyer on Careless, it's a great track, but essentially it's too offensive to God and the divine energy, because he doesn't understand that what the foyer is as well. Like, all of these things, all of these songs have a very specific... They're way too specific to my actual lived experience. Let's put it that way. And it's common knowledge that anyone who has any real success at all, even in a smaller band, cult band, pun intended, that there are people who have sold their soul. And, of course, I never did that. It's extremely dangerous, and I'm not here to reference any of those cults. But again... my signature guitar over there, the 10th anniversary gem, it has the all-seeing eye on it and all the third eye symbolism and the 33rd degree. And, like, this is common knowledge. But what is not common knowledge is that you can take a phrase like love is the law. But in reality, it was used by one of the most hostile, dangerous, anti-energy there is. And so I am cleaning up the goth record scene with God and the angelic beings. We're getting rid of all the fucked up energy, and I'm basically taking back energetic ownership. They can keep all the copyrights and press all the records they want and play it all day long, but they're going to have to live the karma of it. And God allowed that to happen in a way, like I said, I'm an expert in pattern recognition and language analysis. And I also have a lot of patience. I've spent decades listening to interviews with Martin Gore, and I finally did reach the conclusion that he is not being 100% honest. He's leaving out a lot of information by omission about how he wrote the majority of his demos. And you can kind of see over time when people try to force stuff and it's whatever it is, but when you hear him speak and it doesn't match up whatsoever. And if you dive deep into those documentaries, you will see that a lot of the time there was a bare bones demo and Alan was working with Flood or whatever. They were going nuts in the studio, spending 5 hours on a snare sound. Lots of reverb was the code on Black Celebration. Very interestingly, the guy who did Ultra with them ended up becoming like a chef, which is Tim Simonon, the producer. The bottom line is Martin's not a producer, and he's not, he has a wall of modular synths in his home studio there, but there's literally not a single plug going in and out or any of it. So I'm confused as to where he's actually getting. Maybe he does everything in the box. Maybe he had it all put away for photo shoot purposes. The bottom line is this also applies in the sense that there is an undertext. In French, they call it the sous-text. It's sensuality, it can be beauty, but it's also, we are living in a world that operates by code. And that's why my thesis is very specific, and it ties into my status as a Vedanta master, realized master, because you can say one thing and indicate the opposite. And in a lot of these groups and cults, there's a lot of loaded language. I recommend the book Combating Cult Mind Control by Stephen Hassan. But again, he's a guy who charges, last time I checked, it's like probably up to $700 an hour now. I mean, there are dating coaches who just wouldn't know true love if it smacked them in the face, who charge, $800 an hour in 2015 to whatever. And this whole idea that the myth of the one, there's no myth of the one, buddy. Either you have your twin flame or you don't, and that you find out when you die. And so the bottom line is, when it comes to careless, there is so much reference in Drab Majesty's oeuvre. To use the correct, it's not au revoir, that means bye, it's oeuvre. In his work, it's so much cult ideology, it's almost like, how can you not, he's obviously referencing it. And I deliberately refuse to watch that documentary. Well, I'm not going to get into which, but it's not cool to represent the Heaven's Gate cult, for example. It's a very dangerous thing. And you can see it's just all over people in the club. And people are scared. There's a great documentary about Prince's work ethic that's fascinating. My bottom line is, I just want to enjoy my records. And I haven't had a carefree moment really in my life. I mean, I was... and I started telling the truth because I realized I can't just be merged with God and literally be a realized saint walking around it's ruining my life without telling the truth, because now people know. I mean, I think at one point people thought they weren't sure that I knew. And I'm like, believe me, I know. I mean, I know that I'm God's right-hand man. Believe me. I know that I have spiritual powers and that I'm anointed way beyond anything any of these clowns ever thought. So people come in and they start acting really bizarre, and the people that tried to fuck around and fuck me over. Look, God will use everything to my advantage at the end of the day. But it's important that I'm taking back the careless nature of careless. And it's sad. As I said, I bought a couple pedals off Andrew. It doesn't seem to be a very friendly vibe of a guy, and I just thought, fuck it. It's not like we're going to be friends anyway, so fuck it. And it's not an accident that his co-partner there is the son of a horror film director. The problem is a lot of the lyrics in those songs it's too depressing. It's absolutely gorgeous, divine music, and I will sit here and I can judge away, and I absolutely have the authority to judge, because I have been judged by everyone, including those people. Like, I've done everything I can to kind of make friends, and what I realized, there's really nobody on my spiritual level in the goth scene whatsoever, other than and shoegaze, dream pop, all of it, like a lot of those labels. you can see, and Andrew from Body of Light was really nice to me. But why is it that so many of his songs are like verbatim things that I have physically lived through? Like that song Dangerous, beautiful song, but if you actually experienced that, if that were truly authentic about you having dangerous, forced to trust, so much pain, put it on display, and there's no other way to get me out of this pain and lust and all this stuff going on, and that's my, if you actually were living that to the degree that I, as a realized saint, am experiencing my whole life, you wouldn't be able to play one show, let alone press a record, let alone meet with the guys from the label, let alone, I wouldn't have met him after the show. And it was a very suspicious merch that they were selling, was bizarre. And, the bottom line is there's so much more technological advancement that goes on behind closed doors. And people think I'm stupid, and I'm very far from it. But I worship the Lord and praise his holy name as far as I'm concerned, because there's a lot of things you don't want to know about. And it's payback time in terms of karma. I'm not going to be paying the karmic price for all those lyrics. The heiress is also very disturbing, and the foyer has a very specific divine meaning just between God in Vedanta meditation. So what I'm saying is those lyrics are channeled coming from somewhere. And what's interesting is Andrew, I think, was a drummer before he did anything else. And it shows. He's brilliant songwriter, right? But there's something else going on there, because when you listen to him talk, he kind of comes off like a pretentious prick. And then he wouldn't even let me join his quote unquote fan club. And why is that? Because he doesn't really want to sell his gear, and he doesn't like me. I don't even know, when I say he doesn't like me, I know that he doesn't really like God. And in some way, there are people in the scene who must have known that I was treated in some circles like a kind of cult scapegoat. I had guitar techs literally straight to my face who were like, oh yeah, one of us must have a voodoo doll of you somewhere. And it's like, look, I'm not a fucking moron. But you want to find out about psychopathy. I played dumb for decades. You have no idea who the fuck I am or how powerful I am. And when my word is my wand, when I say it's over for you, I mean, the cover of the last Body of Light record is literally almost an exact replica of a photograph I have when I was sitting with my meditation master at a table in Europe. That's not an accident. So it's great to sing all this, reverb-laden layers of lust and longing and all this shit. But at the end of the day, there is a lot of creepy negativity, especially in that song, The Heiress. I love the name Hallow. It's a beautiful record. But as a realized Vedanta master, the one right now speaking, the reality is they are worshiping me whether they want to or not. And it's clear to me that my unconscious has been mined before because of my affiliation with various groups. People knew things about me, whether it's me personally, specifically. I'm not sure exactly what or how things happened. And again, I operate by pronoia. That's the opposite of paranoia. But at the end of the day, it's not an accident that, for instance, entrance and exits. That's a very specific thing. And the lyrics of that song literally describe my horrifying near-death experience. It actually lasted almost a week, and then there were months in between, and again, and the things I've lived through would make, the average Delta Force operator beg for God's mercy. And I'm over here suffering. I'm doing this because I don't have a choice. I'm like, you can enjoy the copyright to that record, but don't try to have your cake and eat it too. You have to live the consequences of that shit. I get to be carefree. Basically, the cover is the lead guy as a guru, as a saint or whatever. He's in the chair to be worshipped in a CRT TV. And so but I'm not 100% sure that he was even aware of how they dress up or what they do. Look, I love Drab Majesty, but I'm not going to be treated like a fanboy. And I guarantee you, as someone who has literally merged with divine energy, I have been paying a very high price, both financial, spiritual, and physical, for all of their success. There's a reason bands are starting to fall off, and all of a sudden they start these weird ambient side projects and they kind of start to disappear. And it's like, you know, at the end of the day, it's a massive superiority complex. But when I heard that line, because I would blast Unknown to the Eye, it's magical, it's beautiful. But when I finally heard him sing it that one way, and they said you were made from the stars, out of this earth that was rightfully ours. The cocaine was a merry-go-round. You know, I partied when I was younger. It's the whole thing is the oceans were the killing machines. There is hatred in there. The song is basically about hating the Son of God, hating God. The Son of God, made from the stars, out of this earth that was rightfully ours. And what I said, the reason I'm addressing it specifically is it's clear to me that there's so much cult ideology and imagery, and I just focus on the parts of it I like Kissing the Ground. It's a great song. I don't make it about drugs because I can't afford to do that. I make it about, you know, but you will learn to obey and kiss the fucking ground that I walk on. And if you can walk, you should kiss the ground and thank people like me. So I'm not saying I even, you know, I am just taking back. Time to Kill is another great song. But the bottom line is a lot of these artists have been stealing from the mind of God, straight up. I don't know how exactly they're doing it, but it's very easy to. They have equipment sophisticated enough that you can basically. I know that was something that happened with me, and I'm not going to get into the details. But I know that after I'd had the Nirvana experience, I think I told maybe one or two people, but I was very careful about it. And still, they knew that something happened to me, and I was kind of studied, and I've gone through times where I've had stalkers. It was very terrifying. So I'm not sure how. It could just be that because I'm merged with the collective consciousness and have had to try to disentangle myself out of that, out of a lot of confusion. I know because I have this pure empathy, like, I'm not here trying to take the planet that is rightfully yours. I'm here to give you eternal life. I mean, what would Jesus do if he were alive right now today? What would he do? Everyone would just call him insane and spit on him. And as a realized Vedanta master myself, that's why I don't talk about spirituality, because at the end of the day, what sells is dangerous, really dangerous religious abuse. And in the name of religion, they're teaching children that God so loved the world that he sacrificed his only son, and that is bullshit. And it's also religious abuse. So, but what I'm trying to say is the holy, whatever holy entity, I can feel the hatred come and the vitriol coming at me. And it must just be in a lot of ways, as I said. I know that's not the only reason. But the whole world feels like deja vu when you're awakened. And he's going to find out what it feels like to open his computer and find it reading his mind and sending him personalized messages about... Because see, I had a checkout line on my Amazon when it first started years ago in like 2010, and it would say, here's your divine withholding. It said that in my Save for Later card. I mean, I've had so many crazy experiences and finding weird recording shit on my computer that I left at the record store I worked for. It was owned by a guy who was a government engineer, and I never should have left him alone with my laptop at a point. And so I don't focus on that shit. That's why I'm high tech and very low tech. But at the end of the day, it is absolute proof that I am who I say I am. I am a realized meditation master and a saint. And I don't belong anywhere but free and making brilliant music with my divine counterpart. And as I said again, I don't whatever's going on. I don't appreciate the vibe of like hatred and horror, because if you love horror, that's great. Then you're not meant to be around me. If you want into the Bat Noir Club, which you should, if you want to be in heaven at all, because that's the only way at this point. That means repenting and walking through. Boy Harsher can sing all day about this shit, but they don't know what it feels like. They don't know what the pain and terror of the things that I've survived. And I'm not, the band that shall not be named, again, as the bassist of that band, a really great person, a brilliant guitarist in her own right. She was super cool to me. It was one of those videos they made. I could see it psychically. Something occult was going on there, and they were planning to hurt someone. I tried to help them, whatever. Bottom line is, I ended up, essentially, I passed over. And my meditation master told stories about that happening with him. The issue with me is, the last thing I would ever want to do is hurt myself or another person, because I know too much. But this is me basically saying, I now could care less. If anyone deserves to be worshipped, because at this point, being incredible is for decades, and being humble and not saying a word about it has gotten me nowhere but with horrific health problems and a bunch of bullshit in my face. So there are people, as I said, people who are educated and understand the guru-disciple relationship. I've seen it when I was out with my former people, a family from India, literally did a full pranam on the floor at the fast food joint downtown, just fully lying face down on the floor, weeping, touching his shoes. So you have to learn about the guru-disciple relationship, because that is the essence of what Jesus was, a realized master. And there are those among us who are. And everyone is different. Everyone has, but as I said, it's clear that like my energy, for me, Ferrari, Kilian, wyland, has just been, it's been abused for far too long. So, when you learn what real love is, only a realized master can show you what real love is. And the Western, just brutal, disgusting mess they make at just destroying that which is sacred in the name of power, and abusing children. I mean, the Vatican is just notorious. And so the world is run by a bunch of apes. And if you are making sophisticated, beautiful darkwave music, you should not want to be one of them. You should not want to not evolve and be angry. They're finding evidence that everyone who is called for that purpose has a type of royal, ethereal, outer space DNA. Don't fucking resent me. Don't use the ocean as a killing machine. That's why Floodland is the story of my life. Because we barely survived the end of days, and it was a flood. There's a reason why when I was rescued out of my old place, I basically passed over and came. Literally everything in my humble abode there was drenched. There was water damage everywhere. It literally happened like a scene out of the music video for this other band that shall not be named. That's how I died. And somehow I woke up again, only to be surrounded with more people who want to fuck around with me. So people clearly, they're just banking on the fact that I don't know who I am, that I don't know that I'm called by God, that I don't know that I've achieved nirvana, you don't even want to know how much God hates you if you would try to think of it that way. Because, as I said, I'm the best thing that could happen to anyone. And at this point, once, people have plenty of fun talking about worshiping this and that, but you can't learn to truly worship. It's from the Bhagavad Gita. It says, those disciples, whatever so in the world they love, because of their love, they worship me with a capital M. And there's a reason there's a YouTube channel called I'm Glad I'm Not Me. There's a lot of occult symbolism going on, and I'm absolutely a language detective. It's cult mind control and cult language, and that the darkwave scene needs to be purified, because the betting of names on gold trust. It's not an accident that my cousins tried to steal my inheritance, but literally, God adopted me. God is my heavenly Father, and He is not adopting all of you unless you... I had to go through unimaginable things. God doesn't make it easy, but he definitely is enraged to the point where He knows I don't want to really do this, but at the end of the day I do, because I'm so sick of being disrespected. I'm not going to allow it for another minute. I mean, I don't like to call myself a teacher or a sensei. I'm just Ferrari, but I am a realized master of a monk. And I have been crossed over multiple times and come back to tell the tale. And I have lived as the kind of scapegoat. And I have modeled my life after that of Jesus and Muktananda. And I was given the spiritual name Muktananda. I'm not here to set up shop as a spiritual master. Far from it. This is like a low profile, low-key realized master thing, but it's very real. This is as real as it gets. So if you found this channel, consider yourself lucky. It's clear to me that my college thesis was passed around in circles without my consent. People were on to something special about me. That's like, if they had shown me that series, Psychic Kids, as a kid, it could have helped. But I'm tired of being abused and underappreciated, and while people are living the high life singing about dangerous this and that. I am dangerous. You're not dangerous if you know what I said, if you haven't had to use a skateboard as a cane for frickin' 5 years, you're not dangerous. You don't get to perform these songs and go on tour and have a whole career and at the same time just hate God. God is the reason you have anything you love. So the first rule, I mean, I quoted the Bhagavad Gita, any realized master, but me means God. Whatever you worship, God is everywhere. So God is me. That is God saying. And again, Vivekananda said, what kind of retard would be condensing down and thinking you could contain all of God in a freaking book? Are you kidding me? These Bible thumpers and all this shit. But Jesus is goth as fuck, and his dad is so angry at his dad has been waiting a long time to get things right. Let's put it that way. But there are saints among us, and if you are a horror fan, then that's not it. That's not welcome. It's just I can't deal with it because I moved beyond it. But I used to want to, and in a way, I have a fascination with criminal profiling and all of that. There's a lot of interesting stuff you can do with that. But if you actually get joy out of horror movies, then you don't belong anywhere near me. And you have to prove your worth to be my disciple. And if you want in houses of heaven, you have to prove yourself. And it's something you're going to do in private, omnisciently, is build a relationship with God. And tell him you're sorry, and give him something beautiful. Yeah, time is running out. I don't ever want to remember what happened several years ago. And the fact that I have been hated by people just for standing up for myself, just for triggering someone. People who treat me like I'm a complete bumbling idiot or a pathetic, stupid... I mean, people... It's clear to me that God hid my value from people, because if they actually saw what I look like and what I sound like, and they read my thesis and they saw my credentials, I mean, I am the cold prince king of darkwave. Full stop. That's the end. And if you want to make your pathetic horror movie shit, do that somewhere else. Because it's a real pussy, pansy bullshit. to romanticize horrifying things. You don't deserve to have love in your life. If that's what you romanticize, then you don't have physical encounters or sex. You can't call that sex. Sex, in my opinion, and believe me, I have the authority to judge, and I am right now. Whatever you're doing, hooking up with someone, it's not sex if it's pure transactional, disgusting bullshit. It's like, you think you know oxytocin. Why don't you have all the oxytocin in the world sapped from you and left half dead in the side of a street while everybody walks around and, feasting on divine energy, and you're left there desperate and alone? Because I have contributed so much love energy to the scene. And that's what we really are. There are, it's just, I don't want to start hating bands that I love for no reason, because it's a divine play of consciousness. Read the book, Play of Consciousness. That I'm here, like, as Ferrari lover, it's divine love. When I lived in Rome, vicolo del divino amore. Divine love. And then yet, I hate the Vatican. I'm not a big Vatican person, but the pietà it's unbelievably powerful in person. But I don't want to feel like that ever again. I don't want to feel like a saint who's just dead and by myself with nothing and no one. And I can't even listen to the music I like because it's making a mockery of my life. It's not psychosis or paranoia when you are merged with the collective unconscious and conscious, and people are collectively schizo, going 1,000,000 miles a minute and churning out records like they're in a factory. As my divine counterpart said, there's a lot of time spent alone working in a city where you didn't know many people. That's people, I hear these people interviewed, and I'm like, there's no way that personality made that music. No. That was channeled by God. Same thing with Modern Mirror, and this whole, the world belongs to the silent ones, and, it's just like, for the love of God, don't hate me. I'm the best thing that could ever happen to anyone, and respect me, and respect God. I don't make any more movies about the end of days or video things, because believe me, the tables have turned. The tables have turned. Meditation. It doesn't take long to do it. This takes, I just need to be free of other people's karma. And that's my spiritual name, Muktananda, the bliss of freedom. Because you all have had the bliss of not having to care about every little micro choice you make. And I'm over here suffering for God and others all day long. And I want my records back. I'm going to enjoy that record. The entrance and exits is that song literally describes not only a lot of experiences in my life, but it is almost a verbatim account of what happened to me in part of the near-death experience in 2012. It's not an accident. This conversation is over. If you have any rudeness or hostility or dangerous energy coming at me, this conversation is over. But it's beautiful music, and if you choose to realize that I literally paid the price for you, because it's not just about money. You have no idea what a blessing it is if I buy a pedal from you and I specifically say I'm not a fanboy and I don't need it autographed. And then you autograph it. And then you don't let me in your dumb little Facebook group. I mean, why would you have such a fragile ego when you're literally like in one of the most successful praise groups of all time? Oh, I know why. Because how your life looks online and how it feels can be different. But it's just, I want to be on good terms with people. The darkwave scene and a lot of the bands I love have to realize what I and my divine counterpart, especially I, sacrifice to this day. You save me, I save you. But no more I save you in the shadows while you mind the mind of God and enjoy singing about how much you hate me and the oceans of the killing machines. Because to be quite honest, my first connection with source energy and divine energy is that beach. And our neighbors all over there have 10 million times the amount of money that we have. We have very little. I have struggled for many, many, many years, and that beach is sacred ground. And I would take walks on those beach, and for 5 years I haven't been able to take a walk. And I'm doing that because of some random dude on a record label who puts himself in a chair with robes and a CRT TV and sings all this cult shit about how I'm going to fall from the sky for reasons unknown to the eye. I'm not falling from anywhere. But your sky can be falling because you deserve to know what it feels like, since you think you know everything about religion. And that's the irony. It's the most hyper-religious people. The more people quote the Bible and all this shit there, it's dangerous. People whose whole identity is their church. It's like, you should be so thrilled, you should be beyond ecstatic to realize that the meek shall inherit the earth. But I'm quite sure that there are plenty of souls in the darkwave community who didn't make it. And they didn't make the cut because heaven is full. Unfortunately. Their bodies are here. They're doing something. But entrance and exits, never again. It's not true that anyone can just have access to God whenever you want, however you feel, and use him as a fucking garbage man and dump all your shit and then just take everything from him and then try to act like you're so superior. I mean, it's not an accident in that show, Eating with Goss, when he says, what would your baby be or what? And he says it would be half car, half alien. They knew who ferrarilover was. People who called themselves my best friend but were watching me die of stimulants and taking everything I had and trying to convince me that they care about me in Long Beach. You know, I used to love Snoop. I was like, ride or die, I love Snoop. And he supplies weed in Long Beach. He doesn't make it a secret. But now that stuff is so dangerous, it'll make you psychotic. These people are not my friends. It's not funny to make a joke and a mockery out of my life. And if you didn't know, now you know. Because I merged with the divine energy in 2009, and because heaven belongs to those goths who repent, clean up their act, and rule number 1 is no smoking, because you can't be falling in love with yourself and doing sadhana and finding out who you are while you are also at the same time killing yourself. If you need medicinal THC, taken in a way that doesn't destroy your lungs. Because I'm not someone to be jealous of or to have all this vitriol and hatred for. Just some of these lyrics of just like, I'm number 1, I'm not an heiress. I'm the heir to the throne, but I will forever be a son. There's a reason, you know. Jesus is not his own dad. And it's just, people get stuff messed up all the time. The most important thing is to learn about the guru-disciple relationship and read the book Play of Consciousness and Where Are You Going by Muktananda. Because the people who knowingly did things to hurt me and knowingly knew that there was a scapegoat and a cult, that's why I hid it for so long. I don't know the extent to which they knew, but boy, there's a reason I kept it secret. And I found out, when people found out who I was, they were ready to kill me. And it's like, why would you want to kill your only chance at getting into heaven? Any realized master, that applies. And Jesus said, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. No one comes to the Father but through me. And he means that. But who is Jesus? When you merge with the divine blue light and the Christ energy, Jesus must be taking back a lot of, as I said, one of the most powerful experiences I had in meditation was pulling over off the freeway and watching these people. It was in Carmel Valley at like the AM PM, and I could just see this tube of shimmering divine white light going down into their sahasrara. So everybody's spine and that spinal column has the kundalini energy and the Christ consciousness. But for many, many years, I've had almost no experience. I basically gave away everything that was freely given to me, and I need it back because it's mine. The divine energy that I inherited is mine. I didn't inherit a bunch of trash. And I've survived things that people would have no idea. I mean, I'm incredibly thankful for these amazing guitars and things like that, but physically I suffer a lot. And words cannot describe the feeling of literally being king. I'm king of the fucking bats, dude. I'm king of the bats. Full stop. And like 3 people in the whole scene have been nice to me. Not even one. I mean, come on, dude. I'm protecting all your records. I'm protecting your copyright. Get off these fucking labels. Like some of these labels that you're on, the logo that they have, that's also straight out of, it's like the movie of my life. But yeah, I don't hook up with strangers, and I want to love the bands that I love. But it's not an accident that it says right there on Bandcamp. It says it right there. The KVB of My Bloody Valentine and Joy Division, and I don't know who else it was. Dead Can Dance had a love child, it would be the KVB. Or, the Illuminati. What? Who? Did I say something? No. I don't even engage with that. I'm not part of any group. But I give respect where respect is due. And I was initiated by my guru. And I will never forget that. I will never forget. Because he introduced me to God, and he was very hard on me, but he was a channel for divine energy. And I knew a lot of it is intuitive. You will feel it. The divine energy, Kundalini, has its own intelligence. Everyone has their own unique path. It can be, it's normal for me to basically be operating, even though it looks all calm and serene. I've got I'm basically like a veteran. I've got very severe PTSD and physical pain, and I'm tired of dealing with that trauma. So this is the careless song, I guess you want to call it. As you can hear, I'm exhausted, and I'm simply doing this out of survival, a need for survival, because I finally realized, when my guru said people would love you if you would just decide, I finally decided, you know what, I'm telling the truth. This is who I am. I won't ever be afraid ever again to say Cold Prince King is real. Ice Eyes is real. A realized master protects you actually from losing the dream state. And you has to be, there's an omniscient connection people have with a lot of one another when you're meditating. And that was, again, it's to tailor that down and have the goal of developing a personal relationship with God. But God doesn't like it when you're an asshole and you're trying to kill spiritual people. Anything made of stars, like, it's don't come after me, and you don't have the authority to judge me. And literally, I am the best thing that could ever happen to anyone, especially a darkwave artist. I'm here to set you free. You save me, I save you. And that's why I don't like to have to be a psychopath, because when you get too much into that energy, it's actually it's like root chakra, negative, low vibrational stuff. So don't make this gorgeous, lush, ethereal music and then put a bunch of negativity, because cults are not funny. And there are people who are barely survive. And no one joins a group realizing what it actually is like that. And so I think I'm just meditating here. And honestly, like I said, this is so not my steez, but it has to just be stated, because I have to be able to, I speak facts, I speak the truth. And I have to put an end to protecting everyone else at my own expense. That's not my story anymore. So Careless is it's a sacred record that I'm reclaiming, and Time to Kill as well. It'll take time. I haven't been able to listen to a lot of records that I love because of that. It's one thing if you really relate to someone. It's another thing if you're singing about specifically torturing the light of God. Like, what? I don't know. That you have to be crazy to think that that's something sexy to sing about. Good night and good luck. Cheers.